All right. Hello and welcome to our ninth grade family night, number 3. My name is Stacy Erickson. I'm one of the associate principals here at Oregon City High School.
Добрый день. Сегодня мы начинаем занятие со Стейси. Добро пожаловать на родительское собрание.
So we have interpretation tonight. We are currently waiting for our Spanish language interpreter, but we have our Russian language interpreter. And when we start the interpretation, there will be a button down on the bottom right that you click for to go into a room that will have interpretation language in the...
Сегодня мы предоставляем перевод на русском языке для тех, кому нужно. Также будет перевод на испанском. Тем, кому нужен перевод по-русски, у вас будет специальный канал. На кнопку можно нажать, и перевод начнется на русском языке.
So I'm going to go ahead and start it.
Сейчас мы начинаем. У нас сейчас испанский, еще 2 языка обеспечены. Кому нужен перевод, мы нажимаем кнопку «Перевод», «Interpretation» внизу. На экране видите «Interpretation».
Anastasia, did that take you to your room, that room yet?
Yes, I'm right here in Russian room, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to manage that for a second because it looks like it might be. Oh, it's not letting me change that. Okay, sorry, everyone. There we go.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Is it still not working? All right. Anastasia, does it let you click the button to go into the interpretation area? It doesn't.
You are, Anastasia. It's working. We're in the Russian interpretation. I'll let Stacy know. Stacy, it's working just fine.
Okay. Does that, okay, we'll go ahead and get started then. I can, all right, so Christine, we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, Stacy, are you starting? Taking it away?
Yep, take it away.
Right. Okay. Well, welcome this evening. My name is Dr. Christine Baldwin, and on our agenda for this evening, we're going to talk to you about the Foundations for Success, talk about student support opportunities that are available right now during comprehensive distance learning. We're going to have one of our own in-house guest speakers, Stephanie Phelps, our school psychologist, to share some really important information about self-care. And we're going to talk about some of our wonderful clubs that are happening and ways for your students to be able to become part of our OCHS environment. And then at the end, we'll have a question and answer. So for our first experience, we're going to actually let you become engaged with this experience. And so you should be able to see the chat icon on the bottom of your screen. It may be on the top depending on your device, but you'll be looking for this icon. And Stacey, I think our interpreter's here. And so what I'd like for you to do is to click on the chat button and answering the question using the chat feature, please share something positive that is connecting you to OCHS. What is something that you're finding to be a positive? We know there's lots of things that have come up that are, new and challenging and pieces that we're trying to put together, but we'd love to hear really what is connecting you to the high school right now. See if you can find one experience or one teacher or one class or we have sports now. We have some students that are engaging in some sports. Find one thing that's connecting. And if anyone is, if one of my co-hosts is able to share some of the positives that you're seeing, I'd love to hear. Are we seeing anything coming in?
Yep, I see one thing and it says, thankful for the sports and conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Wearing my football shirt today. It was exciting to hear from some football players. The 9th graders were able to get out there and do some conditioning. It was exciting.
Also, one user or one parent was excited about conferences. The conferences went well. And also speaking with my daughter's biology teacher during conferences, which was more specific about conferences. Also, another parent liked the progress reports. They are so helpful. Thank you for the emailed reports. That's something new we're trying, and we're kind of excited about that. And you'll hear a little more about that a little bit later in the evening. So awesome. One of the things that while Dr. Baldwin's taking this away, I will be putting in the chat a Survey Monkey where you can have questions go for a question and answer period. And what's great about that is that we can, if we don't get to your question tonight, we can get back to you and answer your question. So I'll be putting that in there every so often. So with that.
All right. Thank you. If you have anything that you feel you want to share, you can definitely share with us those positives that are coming your way. We'd love to hear them as well and share them with other staff members that may or may not be here this evening. Thank you. All right, so our administration, I love to share this slide because this is the heart of what's happening behind the scenes. This team helps keep everything up and running at OCHS. And so this evening we have many different administrators here, but I'd like to introduce our principal, Carrie Wilhelm, who will be giving us a wonderful welcome this evening. Carrie?
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. It is great to be here, and I'm so glad to welcome all of you to this evening. We have a great event planned tonight, and I'm excited to listen to Stephanie Phelps, our school psychologist. She is super knowledgeable and super compassionate and just loves our students. And so I'm excited that you all get the opportunity to hear from her tonight. And we're just thankful that your students are with us at OCHS. And even though this year hasn't quite gone as we all have hoped for your students' freshman year, we are excited that they're here, and we continue to work to get better to help support them and help support you. So thanks for being here tonight, and take it away, Christine.
Thank you so much, Principal Wilhelm. All right, and counselors, they're a major part of our program as well. The high school.
Go back one slide because there are other administrators here.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. We have Dr. Erickson, who's helping this evening, and then we have Mr. Toby Futch. We have Mike Stead, Lynn Berry, and Andy's not with us this evening because he is with our sports program. So that's exciting news that he's up and running with this sports program. And these are all of our staff administrators. So thank you for being here this evening. And then we also have the counselors, and these counselors will support you based on your last name. So again, I've shared this multiple times, so I just want you to know that there are counselors available for anything that's happening with your child. Please reach out to your specific alpha-based counselor. So if your last name begins with A, you're through CL, your counselor would be John Lucente, and so on and so forth, as you see here. If you have any concerns or questions, you'll want to connect with them through email, and I'll share in a few minutes just how to do that. And so for this evening, our goal is to talk about the foundations for success and connection. And so we're going to launch the next section about how to do that. And so one of the key elements to the foundation for success in our current learning environment is communication with the teachers. This is critical. They are ready to answer questions that you have. This is a new experience. So for them, as they're putting their information into the Google Classroom, creating those synchronous live sessions, anything that comes up regarding the curriculum, it is super important to connect with your teachers. And you can see the email setup. This happens to be how you'll connect with administrators, counselors, staff members that are in the Oregon City School District. It's the first name, period, last name at Oregon or City K12 OR.US. That is the way that you'll set up your email. So if you aren't sure how to do that, this is going to be a great way for you. Email is the primary way to connect with your teachers, and then your teachers can set up appointments or let you know when their office hours are so that you can reach out to them and have a specific conversation about grades or where to access materials or even how to set up, how to get into the live classes. And we have a lot of different means of communication. As the ninth grade success coordinator for our building, I send out the newsletter, and hopefully you're receiving that. It's been well received this year with lots of families reading information that's happening at the ninth grade level. We also have an amazing newsletter that comes out in the same format, the S'more newsletter. We send that out. Principal Wilhelm has one that comes out once a month, I believe it is, or twice a month. You'll see that come out in a news blast. And we try really hard to get the progress reports out. So recently there was, Dr. Erickson, when was that last progress report sent out? Was it Friday of last week?
Range was hopefully for Friday was the target that they
Okay.
would receive progress reports for their students.
Okay, and so if you did not receive progress report information, please reach out to a OCHS staff member to be able to find out where your progress report is. Those are important to help keep you on track with what's happening in the building. And Dr. Erickson's going to give us a little discussion about the establishing a routine and what that means for our students.
On the most simple of aspects about routine is what the school week looks like. And you've seen the schedule before. This is the Monday through Friday. And basically on Monday and Tuesday, the classes have one cycle, and then Thursday, Friday, they repeat again. And teachers, the reason why there's a 90-minute period in this one schedule is that teachers are selecting the time within that 90-minute period for their 45-minute class. Your student should know because the Zoom links and the times are posted inside the Google Classroom, which will be a little bit part of what we cover in just a few minutes. But the idea of establishing a routine, if your house with a teenager is anything like anyone else's house with a teenager, right now it's been not just a little chaotic, but different than it used to be. And routines are harder to create when we're home all the time. As many of us are doing, people are working outside the home, and kids are trying to establish routines within. And a little bit later tonight, when Stephanie Phelps, our school psychologist, talks a little bit about sleep and a little bit about the different pieces of being a teen, the idea of establishing the routine is really important. And in the big picture, it's about helping your teenager know when they need to get to class and when they need to kind of be able to do schoolwork. And that isn't easy. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do is, if you see at Thursday at 9:30 is something called, well, it just says mentor there, but it's mentor teams, which is sort of, it's our advisory. And we've been working on having lessons in that advisory that talk about how to be a successful student, what to kind of how to prioritize and get organized. Also, we do a lot of community building and kind of they call the school term for it is SEL, which is social emotional learning. But the key piece is that it's an important piece to consider the whole student, as you well know. And there was a time when I had 3 teenage boys in the house, and not only for the routine of even eating alone, right? Getting the food for them, or finding the food to have for them, but the idea of trying to stabilize into a routine. And so you will see tips in Dr. Baldwin when she sends home the ninth grade success letter, the ninth grade family newsletter. There are always tips about routines and getting organized, and that piece is really important. And Wednesday has a different pace all in of itself, because there are office hours where they could get one-on-one help from teachers. And that is an important piece of having them know when the office hour is. And in the afternoon, we're going to talk about some student supports for students where they can get tutoring. And so oftentimes I've had parents send me a picture of this type of schedule on the fridge that shows the students when to get to class. And we're going to talk a little bit about, there's a few structures that we've tried to develop that will help with that routine. So not easy for sure to establish a routine, but definitely one of the important pieces of helping our teens get organized and stay kind of moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I want to share that we're starting to work with students and families. We have interpretation. There is a set time where some families are meeting with interpretation to be able to figure out what this schedule looks like. And I met with a student today where we took this template and we cut and pasted the times. We wrote in the times that they're meeting for period 1, the exact minutes that their class starts. This is a super template that if you are in need of setting it up so that you know when your students are having class, I'll happily meet with you and help design what this looks like in real time. So does your student start at 10:30 or do they start at 11:15? What's the schedule? It's available and we're here to help, and I can set up an appointment to meet with you for that.
And Christine, on a side note,
Yes.
we have a staff member that is working on doing a fillable form so that um, students can put in their class schedules based on this. So that should be coming
Excellent.
soon.
And we'll make sure we get that out in the newsletter if we can do that. The ninth grade newsletter, we'll put a link so that you can set it up on your own with your student and talk about what this huge schedule means and how you can make it more comprehensive for your home and actually set up a routine around it and make sure, if your student doesn't start till later, maybe that's the day they get to sleep in, or maybe that's the day they work on some of their asynchronous experiences. And so with that, when you start a routine, you want to make sure that you're creating a learning environment. And we had our guest speaker last month talk about environment and how it really doesn't matter how the space is, as long as the student is comfortable in that space. So it may be that your student is at the kitchen table. And if that's the space that's quiet and helps reduce distraction, then let that be the space. Maybe it's a big beanbag chair in their room. It could be a hammock. It could be anywhere, but we want to make sure that your student has something to drink so they're not running all over the place trying to figure out where they can get something to drink during class. More and more students are turning on their cameras, so it's great to have, plain backgrounds. We know that everybody's home is different, and if it's anything like my own home, every room seems to be set up for one of my children for a learning space. So, find the wall that you can sit by, and so the back space is a wall, and that way you can turn your camera on, and if you choose, allow your classmates and your teacher to see who you are. It builds connection, even though it may seem awkward at first. Your learning space is conducive for you. So if it's a laptop, if it's a tablet, there's different ways for you to utilize the content, and setting up your schedule, making sure you have writing materials. I realized, teachers would say, I have a ninth grader, so I'm speaking on behalf of a ninth grade student. This teacher would say, now take notes. And I realized, oh, wait, I don't have any paper for my student. So we went out and got some notebooks and made sure there was a stack of notebooks next to her learning space and some pencils and pens and markers so that she could, do whatever was asked of her. But I felt embarrassed that I had not even thought about paper or materials. And if paper or materials or things are hard for you to get, reach out to the staff members at OCHS and we'll see what kind of materials we can bring to you if you're in need. You're never too far away from someone who can support you. So please ask. And now over to Lynn Berry, who will talk to us about Zoom expectations and attendance.
All right. Well, it's so great to be here today. And hopefully I am a positive personal face because I worked with some of your students last year if you attended Gardner Middle School. So it's pretty exciting that I get to be part of this amazing team at Oregon City High. And I get to continue to move through your child's education journey along the way. So Dr. Baldwin had said some things about the Zoom expectations, about keeping a kind of a space that is user friendly. Something I think that students forget is that really small camera that's on top of the computer can actually see a lot behind you. So I think those are some conversations that you as a parent can have with your child on that, making sure that the voice is the mute is muted unless a teacher is asking to have some feedback, because a lot of times the background noise can be very distracting to everyone, including your child. And you can Stacy or Dr. Erickson and Dr. Baldwin, you can help me out with some more of these expectations. But it is really nice to have the camera on, because it's nice to see people. That celebration of connecting virtually, just to see the friendly faces is super exciting and interactive with both the student and the teacher. So obviously it's not a full requirement. It just is something that does help with the learning environment. Making sure that the students are in a learning position. Laying on their bed is probably not the best learning position, but just that they're aware and alert. Making sure that students have, I feel kind of silly saying this, but making sure they've got a shirt on so that they're ready to go. So like dress for success. Like how would you dress when you go to school? Dress for success. And I know I've seen a lot of kids like totally dressing up, ready to go. And I've got three teenagers in my house as well. So they're up, and I mean, sometimes they just wake up and get right into class, but they're in a position where they can get going. So any other Zoom expectations, team, that I have missed?
I think that was really great coverage. The idea sometimes that kids don't like to use their camera, but the more they can, the better. But it is not a requirement, like you said, but that it helps them connect to each other a little bit more. So,
Yeah.
and
we
we
just
have
want,
a lot of joy in the Zooms we have. So that part's kind of exciting.
yeah, it's nice to see faces, but we also understand, the security of a student, and we want to respect that too. So, so that's for some Zoom, and then attendance. We want the kids in class every day. So if you looked at the schedule, they're if like Monday period 1 and 2, those are Zoom classes where the teacher is teacher instruction. And periods 3, 4, and 5, students will need to check in on their Google Classroom and do a attendance question, and that would count for their attendance. So really the focus and the message I'm sending to parents and students is you need to be in every single period every day. It's just a matter is, are you actually in a Zoom meeting with your teacher, interactive learning instruction, or are you doing the work that's on Google Classroom and the question of the day? And some of them might be silly, and really the questions of the day are there to help with attendance and not necessarily to stress your child out, to have to really think about a concept. Some of it might be related to curriculum, but some of it might just be like, hey, what's your favorite color? That's just a way to keep interactive and making sure that they're checking. So no question is a dumb question. They're all fun and part of connecting with your teacher. Stacey, Miss Dr. Erickson.
Yeah, before you go on, we did get a question in the Survey Monkey about backgrounds and politics. And so I will go ahead and take that one. So there right now we're obviously in a political season, And there are times when students might have political signs or flags or something in the background of their Zoom. So we urge students to have a simple background just so it's not distracting to the learning process. There is a piece about First Amendment rights and politics for students. And so we have trained our teachers well so that they can they know where the limits are in personal expression. And so if there is a concern that you have for a student or for something to that, check in with your student's teacher, and we can proceed from there. There is definitely just in the last few months, the ODE has come out with a program called All Students Belong. And there are certain expressions of speech that are not allowed in classrooms or Zoom classrooms anymore. And you can read the whole thing on the ODE website, but in the short version, it's basically there's a Confederate flag, swastika, and a few other items that have been called out especially. So that piece, if you have any concerns, please contact one of the administrators. And you can contact the teacher also, but we are happy to make sure that people feel welcome, and that we understand, and not only understand the law, but make sure that we are working within the confines of that. So, but we definitely we want to make a safe space for every student, and that might we just, if you have concerns, please contact us.
Thank you, Dr. Erickson. One more thing about attendance. So I'm a part of the student engagement team. So if a student is not showing up to X amount of classes per week, the big goal is to be 80 to 100% of in every class every week. But so if you get a call from my team, we're just checking on attendance, making sure that students are checking in for asynchronous, which is when you're not in a Zoom class with your teacher. So that's probably the biggest, one of the bigger two aspects of attendance is not doing those questions and not getting your attendance checked. And so if you receive a call, it's just a call to say, hey, anything we can do to help you out, and we will give you a heads up on what's going on. So, as we have high schoolers and they become more independent and, we're out working, we want to make sure that they're doing what they need to do so that they can get their attendance credit. So, and if you have any questions about that, Lynn.Berry at all of that, you can just email or call me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Berry. Appreciate your information about Zoom and attendance, both extremely important. And if there's anything we can do, please let us know. So Zoom academies. Now we are holding tutoring sessions on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are during the 12 to 1 hour. We call that Lunch Academy. And so your student can come with lunch, drink, whatever during this time, and can get help on specific assignments. They can work with a partner to work on a group project. We have National Honor Society students that are working with us. I'm chairing that position and working with the students as they come in. We ask questions about what their needs are and get them into a breakout room with a trained National Honor Society student who has a comfort level for a particular course. And what's also nice is that some of the students have had the 9th grade courses. Had a student come in for, Introduction to Art, had a question about the project that was happening. And what was nice is that one of our National Honor Society students knew exactly how to help because they had the teacher and knew a lot of what the expectations were for that particular type of assignment. So this is student to student support, and it's a great way for your 9th grade student to be able to connect with our students who've been at OCHS and understand the building, the teachers, how things go. So I encourage you to do that. And how you're going to get to these spaces, there's lots of different ways. So the newsletter, you've probably seen this graphic before. The newsletter has this image, but I cannot put live links out there for the safety of our students. So what we have asked our teachers to do is in the Google Classroom, under the Classwork tab, get started here. You may see a topic that's either very specific that says Lunch Academy or After School Academy, or in this case, the teacher condensed it and put academic support times. It'll open up to this graphic, and then the student can actually click right on the active link. So where it says join Zoom meetings, your students are going to be able to get right into that meeting. And I do check the name to see if it's a student's name that we have on our log. Students sign an attendance sheet, and then that way, if you're curious, I asked my student to go to this. Did they show up? And you can say, I can say, yes, they did, and here's what they studied. And so it's a great way for us to partner with you during, partnering up with you as parents to understand what's happening in the Zoom space during their school time. If there's any questions, just give me an email and I'll happily give you some more information about this space. And so Dr. Erickson's going to give us a little overview of the joining a club.
It's going to be Lynn. It's going to be Lynn. But actually, can we pause for 1 second because
Sure.
our Spanish interpreter just arrived, and I would like to open up that room.
Oh, great. Thank you.
1 second. Manage interpretation, add. Hold on 2 seconds. Carmen, I hope you're here. I'm just putting you in the room and hit update. And it's interpreter number 2, Mr. Futch, so that if you could go in there. So if you are listening and you would like to have a Spanish interpreter, click the interpretation button and we'll be ready to go. Oh, but I think I put her in there before I had her speak. All right. Thank you. Okay, so go ahead. I think Lynn Berry is up.
All right. Well, another way to connect to the school virtually is by joining a club. And we have all sorts of clubs that students can join. And I'm thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, that these will be available in mentor teams. So teachers can, students can go to their mentor team classes and they can join one of these clubs, one or more of these clubs. Also, if your child would like to start a new club, there's also application and paperwork that they can do. The only thing they need to have is obviously a club name, and then they'll need to have an advisor. So a staff member can help support those students to do that. And most clubs, there's a lot of clubs that happen at lunch, right? And or after school hours. And there's all sorts of clubs there. BIPOC, DECA, Doctor Who Club, FCA, In Stitches, that's crochet and knitting, which I'm actually a part of because I'm excited about that one. Multicultural Club, JORTC, We Dine Together, Thespians, just a whole bunch of different clubs that are available for your child to join. And, the clubs, our athletics are coming back. All that stuff is just another, in this virtual world, it's just nice to be able to start reconnecting with students and being a part of the high school that, all kids are thriving. All kids are thriving to be a part of some aspect of the high school. So whether it's socially with friends or in class or in a club or in a sport or anything else that's offered. So anyone else have any additions to that? Join a club, get involved.
Yes. So you may also find that your club organizer may start a Google Classroom where they can communicate with the student. They may ask them to join a chat space. Some of the students are in, I work with the National Honor Society students and support Ms. Pittenger in that area. And we have a Google Classroom that allows students to see messages. And also the idea that if you don't see a club here, connect with a staff member to find out, even if it's one of your teachers, your mentor teacher, just connect with someone. Definitely, I'm a go-to resource for anything ninth grade, so feel free to connect with me and I can direct you in who to talk to. But there's so many ways to get involved, and this is really a great space to see your child light up. I know when my daughter just joined some of the clubs and was getting messages and meeting new friends who she hadn't known from Gardner Middle School. She was meeting other students that were at the high school. It started this sort of conversation of, well, what is it like there? Tell me more. And so it's just a neat experience to see your child connect in a different way. Anyone else want to share about clubs? All right. Link Crew. So Link Crew, there are Link Crew leaders, and I work with 2 other staff members, Dana Johnson and Mike Lord, to support the Link Crew program. This is where our upperclassmen and young humans are connecting with our ninth grade students to be able to give them an opportunity to understand what's happening in our building. And so our Link Crew leaders were given an application and interviewed and trained so that they could support ninth grade engagement. And so what does that mean for you and your student? Well, you may be asked to connect at one point with your Link Crew leader. There may be an email that comes out that says, hey, I'm your Link Crew leader and I'm here to support you. I'm a Link Crew leader and I'm starting a Google Classroom just so you have a space to learn more. Or, hey, gonna try and have a session. Obviously, there would be an adult present, but maybe a Zoom session just to say hi and see how things are going. But this person is, and if you aren't sure who your Link Crew leader is, or somebody comes in and wants to talk to your child and you're not sure about it, you can connect with the Link Crew leaders and we'll be able to let you know who that person is and if it's legitimately okay to speak with that Link Crew leader. But it's a super way that once we get back in the building too, there'll be lots of connections that this Link Crew will do with ninth grade students in order to build that relationship inside the building and just give them one more person to know who can help them from, walking the halls to getting to class to knowing what's happening in the building with sports, academics, and such. All right, Clue.
That's just a quick plug for our live streamed first event from our drama department, and you'll be receiving a little bit more details on how this works and what service they're using. But yeah, so it will be coming up. So watch for it November 6th and 7th, and they'll be live streamed. I'm not sure the service they're using, but it should be wonderful. And we have a lot of kids that are super excited about it.
We even have some ninth graders in this. I'm excited. Always an opportunity to see some great theater productions. Can't wait to see this one come up. All right, getting to know your Google Classroom. Again, I just want to reiterate this for those of you who may have been with us in the past at some of our family night sessions. We have talked about Google Classroom, but we never know who may know what. So it's a quick review to go over where you can find your students' work. And so we have, once you're in the Google Classroom and you're in the actual class, you see the classwork. There are 4 major areas that are important for you. The Get Started Here, where you can find supports. The Week at a Glance, this is the parents' document to know all. You can use this Week at a Glance to be able to know what's happening. We'll show you that. The attendance, where your student is taking attendance, and then week work. And so when you are in the Classwork tab, I encourage you to click on this Classwork tab when you're in the actual class space, because it offers you topic location. So in this case, the attendance tab or topic will tell you where the questions are of the day. There's current work assignments, and it's important to know this current week assignments. As you see, there's a little grayed out box that says like 1027 slide deck. That's not necessarily something that would show up in a to-do list, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Just know that when you come to the Classwork tab, this is going to be where you have your materials. This little icon that looks like a book, that's the material that may go with the assignments that the teacher is presenting to the class for that week. And it's important to know that if you are clicking on your assignment that there might not be anything there, you may have to go to this tab here and read through a slide deck or read through a story, check out a video, and that's going to be all in your current week assignments. And that may help you be able to have a conversation with your student about what's going on. I know often I'll say, okay, click on your classwork. Let's take a look and see what's happening. To be more specific, I print out these week at a glance documents. The teachers do them so that there's an overview of what's happening in the week. They're not being utilized as much as we'd hope. So I want to share with you as parents what this actually means. So it's a topic, week at a glance. And when you click on it, week 6 at a glance, you'll notice here for Fit for Life. Some of your ninth graders may have this class. This particular teacher, Benita Jordan, she has this class link and it'll actually, this week at a glance, and it'll tell you on the 26th, here's what needs to get done. Here's the due dates and the materials that may be needed. Each teacher sets these up slightly different, but it is a wonderful resource if you have access to printing it out or just having it up on a device to be able to check what's happening. This view your work button is extremely important in the class space too, because it will tell you what's been assigned, what's been returned, what's missing. And I put myself into the Fit for Life class, and you can see I have a missing assignment, and that's bold in red, and it would let my parent know that I have a missing assignment. It also tells my parent that I turned in an assignment and it was done late. So you can get some information from this. However, this choice workout, I may click on it and you'll see current week assignment. I'd actually have to go over to the current week assignments to be able to see the slide deck that would explain this choice workout experience. So just know that there are ways for you to check your work. Look at the week at a glance, compare it to what you see in your work view. And then know that you can do an overview look of a to-do list. This is when you first get into the Google Classroom. You'll see the checklist of to-do. There's a new feature here where it says all classes, and you can do a drop down and then go into each class to look for what's been assigned, what's missing, and what's been done. And the done section will typically tell you what the grade is out of the total score or points that were being allotted. So sometimes your teacher may have a no due date, and that's okay. That just means that you have to go check into the classwork section to see if that assignment has been turned in. But all of this information is at your fingertips, and you can definitely sit down and have a conversation with your student about it. If you're a parent that's just struggling to understand what this space means and how to use it, I encourage you to email me if you're able, or give me a call, and that way I can set up a time with you to actually walk through this space with you. We find that when we do these one-on-one sessions with families and their student, or even during the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday experience, when we just have a minute to be able to share screens and walk families and students through this experience, we find that they become more clear and like more understanding of what is expected and where to go and how to read what's been turned in and what's missing. And then let's see, before we
And there is a question.
yes, I was just going to say, before we get on to our guest speaker tonight, I'd like to know if there's any questions.
This is the student view, correct?
Yes.
And when you are saying check here, check there, they would actually be supporting their student to be checking there.
Correct. So
Okay.
all of this is student-based. And in some cases, the teachers, when they have you'll see over here on the right-hand side, due today, the teacher is posting what needs to be turned in for the day. The big piece here is just making sure, sorry, a little too far back, is that you are looking at what's been assigned right here, what's been assigned, what's been returned, what's missing, because they do give you this report will give you an overview and help you be able to be more productive. And when a student comes into the tutoring or the academies, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday academies, I actually open up their screen with them, and then we see what's missing, and then we direct them to a tutor or support friend that can help them with that particular missing assignment. It's been really helpful. So that way, if you're not sure what to do with your student, we have some amazing students that will actually walk through the assignment. We actually had a student do a PE lesson with another student the other day, and we're doing some fitness together. So it's not just a space for, it's a social space as well. So With that shared, if there are questions about this, I encourage you to use the monkey survey, a survey monkey, excuse me, and then that way we can answer some specific questions
I do have a
at the end.
question.
Yeah. Question? All right, without further ado, our school psychologist, she's Stephanie Phelps. She's been with the school
If I have
district
all
for a
this what?
total of 4 years. And she's specifically now with OCHS for the last 2.5 years and is a wonderful, gracious resource of information. So I'd like to give Stephanie the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Stephanie?
Thank you. These are all unwarranted welcomes, and I really am grateful to be here and talking to you parents. Just wanted to say what I do as a school psych, and that was really hard for me to narrow down. But I consult in a variety of venues in the school as well as in the district, consulting academic and social emotional needs, really supporting the development of implementation of equitable opportunities in education. And I really appreciate this quote that's in here next to my face. By taking care of myself, I have so much more to offer to the world than I do when I am running on empty. I want to talk about taking care of ourselves and helping our students take care of themselves. And I really want to start out the conversation by acknowledging that things are so hard right now. We're living and existing in a global pandemic and treading on just new territory for how we exist and live our lives. Dr. Baldwin just went over an entire new way that we're supposed to do school, and our kids are navigating that, our parents are navigating that, and our teachers are navigating that, and it's so challenging. And in the first few weeks of school, we have what you probably already know as mentor teams, where we spent some time, your students engaged in conversation about what is hard for them. And in particular, what are they concerned about? What is stressing them? And at that time, we had just all moved back into our homes after being evacuated from wildfires. There's been so much that's happened in our world. But lots wrote answers such as, the majority of answers were, school is stressing me out, homework is stressing me out, new routines, and just the basics of this new living situation are what is causing stress. And being at home as a parent who's trying to encourage school in the household as well as create a safe living space is just so challenging. And it really blurs those home and school boundaries and those parent and teacher roles, and it can just become so confusing and exhausting and stressful. I just really want to acknowledge everything that you all are doing. It is so much. And these stressors, they exist in our body as just perceived threats, and they, to our well-being, and especially when it feels really unbearable and when we feel really out of control. And so I want to talk about how we can take back a little bit of control in our lives and talk about just how we can really take care of ourselves and how our students can take care of themselves. Really finding time to do something that helps us feel good and alleviate some of that stress, so we can continue to do this work and of life in a global pandemic. So your students, again, when we were talking about what stresses us out, they also talked about what they do for themselves. And a lot of them could identify a lot of really cool self-care things that they already recognize that help them. So they talked about being creative in their home, like drawing or painting, listening to music, writing. And they also talked about exercising or getting out and moving really helps them feel better. And keeping themselves organized. They recognize that alleviated some of their stress. And we've talked a lot about that. Having that routine can alleviate some of that stress that's going on when we know what we're going to expect and what's going to happen. As well as just socializing and talking things through with trusted friends or trusted adults. Additionally, as was mentioned earlier, a good way to care for ourselves and for our students to care for themselves is good sleep hygiene, which is another way of just saying good sleep habits. Dr. Erickson again shared about that, developing that routine, and in just doing that throughout the day with those exercise or knowing what's coming and kind of creating that space where we know what to expect. That's a really good start to that sleep hygiene. It gets us kind of into a rhythm. It's one less thing that consumes our mental and physical body. But I wanted to give some tips for some good sleep hygiene for you and for your students. One that I feel like we hear a lot is go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day. It is so challenging, but can be so beneficial to our bodies. And really try to sleep when sleepy. Don't lay in bed too much longer after you're awake. Get out of bed. Try not to lay in bed too long. Also, avoiding caffeine 4 to 6 hours before going to bed can be really helpful. I am so guilty of not following many of these, so I just want to acknowledge the challenge that it brings. And as much as possible, although I know real estate in our households right now is so challenging, but bed as much as possible be used only for sleeping, not for watching TV, not for playing video games or eating. But I totally understand that sometimes that's the only place. And then sometimes some sleep rituals, like some caffeine-free tea or breathing exercises, stretching, just things before bed can be really helpful. Also, bath time or shower time. This just sounds so soothing and amazing. It actually, raising your body temperature helps your body feel tired and kind of get ready for that sleep. And lastly, this one is so challenging for all of us because we are in tech always, and it is our lifeline, but avoiding blue light. So on a lot of our phones, you can actually take away that blue light and have kind of a red dimmer. That's a really good start if you feel like you have to be on your phone kind of right up until bed. I also wanted to talk about a few ways that I recently heard about and I've been thinking, I feel like they're really applicable and simple strategies to use to release stress and to take care of ourselves. I listened to a podcast with a woman, her name's Renee Brown. I'm sure many of you have heard of her, and she spoke with some authors who wrote the book Burnout. And they talked about how to really complete the cycle of stress within your body instead of letting it sit in your body. We have to let it kind of go through. Like, we are all experiencing stress and it can just sit there and fester and really be detrimental to our bodies. But if we let it kind of seep through and move through our bodies, can be really helpful. And some research-based tips that they gave that you and your students can use, I just wanted to share. So one is moving our body. I think exercise can sound really intimidating, but even if we're just moving our body in our homes or like tensing our muscles really tight and releasing them, that can just be a really good way to let that stress kind of move through our bodies. Another simple thing we can do is stop for 6 seconds and take a deep breath. Truly, actually, physically allowing oxygen into our body really can help us just alleviate a lot of that stress and help it move through our body. If you have this opportunity, or if this part of your family, deep connecting hugs with people that you love is also really powerful. So you can do that with your partner or with your student, and I'm sure they'll love it. But it's just, that can also be a really good way to alleviate that stress and help it move through your body. Another one that I love, that I think it would just be great to find these moments of having a deep laugh. We know those deep laughs that something is so funny that you can't hold it back. Not just those courtesy social laughs. It's really those deep laughs when you find something really hilarious. And those moments are really special and hard to find, I think. So just know that that is a way to relieve that stress. So just lastly, I want to say, just give yourself and your students the grace to give back to yourself. It's really easy with the pressures we're facing to kind of feel even a sense of shame when we take on something for ourselves, like sitting down in front of the TV and taking a nap, and taking that time for ourselves, or needing to leave the house for a little bit because you're over it. I mean, that is truly okay and something you need, and really pay attention to your body and what it's telling you. Again, it's just so necessary. So I encourage you and your students to reward yourselves throughout the day, and just doing this, the life that we're having to live right now. And that's all.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I connected on all the different levels of what you shared today. And my 9-year-old came up to me and he said, Mommy, can I give you a hug so my heart talks to yours? And I thought, oh, and it does. It makes a difference. That moment of a deeper hug, just something that you can enjoy with your child for that moment that's just personal and just connects you during these really tough times can make those sad moments go away. Your words today are so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sure if there are any questions, please ask because those tips are great for, just self-care. I'm going to take them out the door and downstairs in a little bit and make sure that I take care of my family as well. Thank you ever so much. All right. And we'll make sure in the next newsletter that if there's any questions, we'll have Stephanie's contact information so you can ask specific questions that may be more personal to your family. Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions that came up in SurveyMonkey?
We don't, but
Okay.
if on the way out you click that link, we can also follow up with the questions later by email. There was a question about mentor teams and is there credit for mentor teams, and we're working on that. We're working on it so that kids are that little piece helps motivate them to get there. But it definitely is part of our program to care for the whole student right now. So if you can get your kids there, that's pretty awesome.
All right. And so to close out our evening, we will be having another 9th grade family night. This will be on our 4th one, which is exciting to have these monthly connections. We'll be talking about what happens at the end of a trimester, because this will be your first trimester experience. And then what happens moving into second trimester, and where do we stand in terms of the measures that connect us to getting back into a building and where we are in that. So thank you so much for this evening. If there's anything that we can do for you or your family, please reach out to us. And here's my contact information. If you need anything, just ask. Thank you so much for this evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will you stop recording?